In this lesson, I want to walk you through one of the most powerful journaling techniques I have ever experienced. Uh, I I started doing this as part of my 12 steps of recovery through Celebrate Recovery to manage anxiety. And the lesson objectives are pretty simple to help you develop a plan of action with someone you trust for when you're struggling with anxiety. Uh, Help you acknowledge your emotions in any given moment of the day. And then, this is incredibly powerful to learn to share with someone else when you're struggling. That was a big deal for me. And I've got to do a hat tip to John Baker of Celebrate Recovery, the founder, who taught this technique in one of the 12 participants guides of 12 of Celebrate Recovery. I think maybe it's book 3, but I'm not sure. Anyway, this has been a really powerful lesson, and this is also an introduction to a little bit of group journaling. Now, if you have a mental health professional with whom you consult on a regular basis, talk to them about this before you implement it. This is a big deal, and you may be able to get some help from them in helping you develop the plan. So here's how it works. The first thing we're going to do is develop a plan of action. This is 5 simple questions that are yes or no. You're going to develop a plan of action for what happens when you answer yes to these questions in, say, maybe 2 of the 5 questions are yes. And then if 3 of the 5 questions are yes, you need a different plan. If 4 of the 5 questions are yes, especially on a regular basis, then it's time to escalate your plan of action and to do something different. What happens is you develop a scorecard to help you assess how you're feeling and where you're struggling. And over time, over the course, for me, your results may vary, but for me, over the course of about 2 years, by taking my heart check temperature every day during the most stressful parts of my day, I was able to basically kick anxiety in the head. I still struggle with anxiety, but it no longer rules every facet of my life. So let's dive in here. What we're going to do, I know I haven't introduced the prompt yet, but I want to make sure that I set this up well. I want you to be thinking about, as I teach this, who you're going to work with to implement your plan of action. And then I want you to be thinking about how and when you will answer your 5 yes or no questions each day. And here, I want you to get this really well here. What I'm going to introduce to you is a system that my friend Andy Henson Romified for us because I couldn't figure out how to do it. And there is a more complicated technique that I still haven't figured out using the Delta function that I want to hop on a call with Andy about soon to have him just explain it to me in ridiculously simple steps. So I don't want your anxiety to go up trying to make this work in Rome when the reality is you can do this not even in Rome for now. Just put it in a notebook or a piece of paper. Just the main thing here is not necessarily to do it in Rome, but if you're struggling with anxiety, to do it. Now, if you are very proficient at using Rome blocks and all of the tips and tricks, soup this up however you want. But if you want to just put this on a piece of paper every day or inside a pocket notebook, by all means, do that. So that's part of the deciding how you'll answer your 5 yes or no questions every day. Then you're going to want to decide on a coping mechanism. So if you answer yes a couple of times, then maybe you want to take a couple of deep breaths or check out some calming music. If you're answering yes to 3 of these things, you might want to take a walk or text a friend or a group for support. If you're texting or if you're answering that question, these questions yes, say 4 out of 5 questions are yeses, and that seems to be a consistent thing, 2 or 3, even 4 days a week, then maybe it's time to make an appointment with your mental health provider or your medical professional. So now, that said, let's have a look at the heart check that my friend Andy Henson put together. Here's the metadata, and he's made this fancy so that we can do the drop down yes or no questions. Are you hurting? With these little forms right here, and these are the questions. Are you hurting? No. And that's vague on purpose because maybe it's emotionally hurting, maybe it's physical pain. It's designed to help you assess all of the pain you might be experiencing. Are you exhausted mentally or physically? Are you anxious? There were days when I almost never answered no to that question. So, and that's okay. Resentment was a whole big thing for me, and I didn't even realize that until I started consistently doing this exercise and answered yes. Tense. So, yeah, you can see how pretty quickly in your most stressful part of the day, how these answers would be yes. All right, so here is the simplest way to do this, to add the set of prompts that are down here to your daily notes template for whenever you want to do it, or even to just set up a notebook and have it next to your desk or wherever you're most inclined to feel stressed out through the rest of the day. Answer the questions, and then let your scorecard guide your next steps, because remember, you've already come up with these coping mechanisms. And here, it's always a good idea to have a conversation with the person you thought about here to help you come up with some coping mechanism ideas. Maybe they know you better than you know yourself. Especially if you have a therapist or some other mental health professional or a primary care physician that you work with. The other valuable thing, like even on days or weeks where you're not answering yes a lot, it's healthy to regularly sit down with your buddy or your therapist or your coach or your, person and just quickly run through the entries. And it's perfectly normal for you to write a note or two about how you're feeling. And that is the beauty of doing these exercises in Rome. So let's just kind of see what this might look like. I'm just going to do a straight copy and paste here. So what might happen here if I put yes, all right. So that's a little note about why. Oh, got a good night's sleep. Resentful, so gosh, I can almost always think of something I'm feeling resentful about, and I can't think of anything today. Oh, there is one thing. See how I just kind of talked myself out of that resentment? Yeah, so there's a lot of value in doing this. Yes. Right. So that's a really simple heart check. And my buddy Andy has a way of making sure this crops up every day using a delta function. And also he's got this set up so that we can track the attributes in a table. And again, I haven't quite figured that out yet, but as I'm recording this, Andy and I are going to hop on a call pretty soon, and he's going to walk me through this, and I will include it in the conversations section. The main thing here is less about the goodies in Rome and more about doing this on a consistent basis and not just doing the templates here, but like I've got a yes to 3 different things here. Now, I'm also going to show myself grace here because I kind of talked myself out of that one, right? Remember that right there? Tense. Yeah. So I've got a yes to 2 of these, which means if I'm doing this the way I did back in the old days, 3 years ago when I did this every day, then I'm probably going to take a walk or take some deep breaths after I finish this, and maybe turn on some music that helps me relax, right? So that's a look at the heart check. I really think this is going to help people a lot. I'm so excited to share it, and I'm grateful for John Baker's willingness to share this. And make sure, yeah, we're done. If you've got any questions, if you have struggles or successes, I'd love to hear about it. And remember, this is less about getting the Rome blocks right and just implementing it in your life in whatever form works for you.